Hello everyone. Welcome to the first week of July, and today we're going to look at the astrology of it. So we're going to break it down by each day. I'm going to name the transit, and then I'm going to translate that into what that actually means. So we're going to start off Monday, July 1st, and the moon is going to be conjunct Mars and sextile Venus and Saturn. And so whenever we have Mars play into things, Mars is my favorite planet, if you didn't know. Uh, it tends to speed things up and it adds a kind of tension to things. Mars is quickening and it is heating and it brings tension. And so, with it being conjunct the moon, that kind of makes me think that one, we might have some extra energy today. You might just feel like, wow, I'm awake, I'm alert, I want to go and I want to do something. And a really good thing to kind of mitigate any tension that you might be feeling is to do something physical. It's, to work out, go on a walk. I'm not a very high exercise person. I enjoy a little walk or just playing with my dogs for a little bit. It doesn't have to be, a lot, unless you're feeling a lot. If you're feeling like you have a lot of things built up, exercise, just something physical. It doesn't even have to be exercise. It could be play soccer or something. I don't know. But that is, the moon is going to be conjunct Mars today, this Monday. And so you might be feeling like rushed, or you might be feeling a little irritable, or other people might be feeling those things. Maybe you're not, but other people are. And so it's important today that we try to avoid arguments where we can. Sometimes that Mars energy can bring some confrontation. And so if you don't have if you have a confrontation you've been sitting on, you really want to talk to, your friend, coworker, whoever about something, wait on it. You don't have to do it today. Today just might not be the best day for it. If you do have a confrontation and it is necessary, it's not something that can wait. It really does need to be addressed sooner than later. You can do that too. That this is an indicator that there might be some kind of something like that going on. So maybe you won't even bring it up. Maybe someone will bring something up to you. But the thing that I really want to keep in mind is to put on your little negotiator hat. Try to see where the other person is coming from, and try to think about the long term effects of this. So, for example, I was hoping to get these out a little bit earlier. Today I'm recording on July 1st, on Monday, when I'm planning to have it released. And I'm talking about today. And ideally, you guys would be able to see this ahead of time. But that's just not how it worked out. I tried my best, and this is where I'm at. And so maybe you're feeling rushed, because I felt rushed. This morning I woke up, I was like, wow, I still have so much to do. That's okay. This Mars Moon conjunction is going to sextile Venus and Saturn. And so, it's not without hope. And plus, I'm pretty sure this is happening in Taurus. And so, you just take your time with that. Take your time today. Really, just let yourself move at the pace it needs to. Maybe you're not feeling really energized, like I mentioned earlier. That's okay too. Take the time to rest that you need, and then do what you can. And yeah, just try to keep in mind the importance of negotiation and of making peace. And so, any opportunity you have today to make peace, whether that's within yourself, by yourself, or with another person, that is going to help you. And then overnight after Monday, Mars is going to conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And so, with Uranus involved, that can be something that is very unexpected. It can be something that is sudden, or maybe even just a little bit random. And so, I'm not worried about it being anything unpleasant. I don't think it's something we need to be worried about or anxious about. We don't need to lose sleep over it. Just go to sleep when you normally go to sleep. Don't worry about Uranus and the moon. They conjunct each other every month because the moon goes around the whole Earth once a month. So Not something you need to be worried about, but just something to be mindful of, that there could be some kind of pleasant surprise developing behind the scenes overnight. Maybe that's something you'll see earlier in the day. Maybe it's something you won't see till Tuesday. But that that Moon and Uranus conjunction is going to be happening overnight. So just something to keep in mind. Sometimes the outer planets don't have as big effects on us personally, so maybe this is something working kind of behind the scenes on a bigger level. But yeah, just something, if you see something unexpected tomorrow on Tuesday, maybe it's that. So speaking of Tuesday, we're now on to July 2nd. This is a busy day in the sky. If you see me looking down, I've got my little notes here. And so I'm gonna say what's happening in the sky. It's gonna sound like a bunch of planets and signs, and if you're not like a well-versed astrologer, it's okay if it sounds a little confusing. I'll get to what it means right after I finish. So we're gonna have Mercury. It's gonna be trining Neptune, and as it's making that trine, it's gonna be exiting Cancer and entering the sign of Leo within an hour. Like, Mercury is going to hit Jupiter at 29 degrees, and then it's going to keep going, and within an hour it's going to be within the next sign. And so Mercury is going from Cancer to Leo, and it's also making a trine to Neptune as it does that. The Moon is going to be entering Gemini on Tuesday, and it's also going to make a sextile to Mercury in Leo as it enters Gemini. And so Mercury is going to be just barely, probably 0-1 degrees of Leo, and then the Moon is going to just barely be into Cancer, and then that's going to make that sextile. And while all of this going on, Venus is in Cancer, and it's going to be making a trine to Saturn in Pisces, who is retrograding right now. So it's a lot going on. I'm like out of breath just talking about it. But I have my little notes here to kind of help us make sense of all of that. And so try not to make any promises you can't keep. Your word is your reputation, and keeping your word will get you far, not just now, but long term too. And so I mentioned, Venus is in Cancer, it's trining Saturn in Pisces. That is, whenever I see Venus and I see Saturn together, I think of long-term negotiations, long-term understandings, long-term relationships with other people, and how those are different from short-term relationships or people you haven't known for very long. When we know someone for a long time, we have a better understanding of them, and we can make better assumptions about how they might respond to certain situations, about how to best take care of them. And it's just important to keep those things in mind, because they're going to be doing the same thing with you. They're going to be remembering what you say, what you like, how you respond to certain things, and that is going to be what is building your relationship. And so with Jupiter and Gemini, it's going to be there all month, but it is another reminder with the planet of expansion and a sign ruled by the little planet that's really quick and is about being really nitty-gritty and getting all the meticulous little details, as Gemini and Virgo is what Mercury rules. And so we can have these really big things happen from these little words through, while Jupiter is in Gemini. And so just keep it in mind. Your word will get you far, not just now, but long term too. And next week there's some transits that I think maybe your word might come back to you sooner than later, and so just be mindful. If you make a commitment, just keep it. If you can't keep it, just try to communicate where you're coming from, tell them why things change. Don't just leave them in the dark, because if you can't at least fulfill your commitment, the next best thing you can do is kind of communicate with them why. And they'll remember that too. And so, every effort won't be in vain. But this is definitely a busy day in the sky. There's a lot going on, so I didn't want to overcomplicate it and add too much to it. And so we're just watch your word. Don't make any promises you can't keep. Alright, so after Tuesday comes Wednesday, and after the 2nd comes the 3rd, and so on July 3rd, that Wednesday, we have the moon is going to conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, and then later it is going to square Saturn in Pisces. And so this builds on to what we were just talking about with Jupiter and Gemini. Big things can happen from small words. Don't be afraid to talk things out. I think a lunar tendency, a lunar kind of person, Cancers, that Cancer energy can be they can kind of let things build up. I have a few planets in Cancer. It's a very big part of my chart, even though it's not where my sun or my moon is. And it's important that we learn how to communicate things before they get really big, before they, we blow up because we can't take how it makes us feel. And so this is a time to really recognize the value in the little things and the, just communicating with someone that I might not, I don't really like what you're doing right now, but I don't necessarily need you to change or do anything different. I just need you to know where I'm coming from when I'm part of that experience. And that gives them a lot more clarity on how to better take care of you, about how to better navigate your boundaries and just the things that make you and make you tick and make you happy. That's valuable information for them to have. I think a lot of people, when they're communicating their needs, they feel very vulnerable because it feels like they're handing someone a weapon and telling them, putting a target on where to strike. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you're handing someone something that, a shield that they can use to protect that vulnerable spot. And it's tricky because it's in their court. Some people do weaponize the information that we give them. Sometimes it's unintentional, sometimes it is intentional, but we kind of need to operate like assuming the best. I think if we operate just assuming that people are going to screw us over or, try to take something from us or one up us if we share, then we're not able to live and see all sides of ourselves. Like, we're not able to live fully and see what we really have to offer because we're not offering it because we're scared, that either it's not going to be appreciated or it's going to be stolen or what have you. And so don't underestimate these small things. If someone is misusing that information, that's also another conversation you can have with them. So yeah, just don't be afraid to talk things out. Deep relationships are built one conversation at a time. Again, Saturn is here. The moon is going to be squaring it, and so it's going to be putting some pressure on the long term. Because when you tell someone, hey, this was upsetting, sometimes they handle it well, and then sometimes the next time something happens, or the next time they feel upset, it's, well, remember when you did that thing, or you said that thing, and it gets messy. And so relationships are not something that we need to be so black and white about. We can't be treating each other like we're not worth keeping around just because we're not perfect. Like, it's really frustrating to me when people have a kind of a cut you out mentality of, well, you're not helping me serve my higher purpose, or you are unhealed and so I don't want to be around you. And I think it's just not. There's a time and a place for it. I think, if someone is being abusive consistently, you don't need to put up with that. But if someone is just making human mistakes and they just don't exactly know the right thing to do or the right thing to say all of the time, it's for our benefit and for their benefit to develop some patience, develop some understanding, and develop a better relationship where we can get to know each other more and understand each other more. And I try to see conflicts in my life with people as opportunities to understand them more. And so, yeah, no one's perfect, and you'll find that when you start extending grace to others, you have a lot more room to advocate for your own grace and your own humanity, because you won't be known as someone who is critical and judgmental, and because of that reputation, people will give you the benefit of the doubt. They'll see you as someone who, um, I don't know, it'll work. It's just better. We just need to be nice to ourselves, and we need to be nice to other people, because those two concepts are very much intertwined. And if we feel like we're giving to other people, but we're not taking anything and everything is one-sided, that's not a way to live either. So that's what we've got for Wednesday. Kind of a lot more than I had planned, but hopefully you find it helpful. So then we're on to Thursday. So now we are on to Thursday, July 4th. As far as transits go, it's just the moon entering Cancer, and so I'm expecting the 4th to be kind of a sense of relief. Hopefully, with that being such a big holiday in the States, that people here are able to have a little bit of time off of work and just really get to relax. And so that's literally the only note that I wrote for Thursday is today is a sense of relief. So we're going to keep it short and simple. And moving on to Friday, July 5th. On Friday, Mars in Taurus is going to make a sextile to Saturn in Pisces, who is still retrograding. And then we're also going to have a new moon in Cancer, and that new moon is going to be square the nodes in Aries and Libra. With this new moon in Cancer, and with this Mars aspecting Saturn, I just wrote down that it's important to make the most with what you have before you consider adding more things. So don't try to overcomplicate your life. If you have something that's pretty simple, and maybe it seems complicated to other people, but for you it seems really simple and it works, there's no need to break something that there's no need to fix something that isn't broken. So don't overcomplicate it. Just try to keep things simple. This new moon, it's going to be kind of a sense of rest, a sense of nurturing, and I think we take for granted often the ways that our body can relax and the things that relax us. Like, for example, listening to just like a little guided meditation on, YouTube or SoundCloud or wherever. That is something that really relaxes my body and really helps it calm down. But in my mind, when I think relaxing, I think about like wanting to go out and like buy a bath bomb or get a massage or do something that is relaxing, that is nice, but doesn't really make sense for where I'm at least financially. And so that's something that it's just important to keep in mind. With it being square the nodes, the north node it's like this head that's not attached to the body, and it just wants to eat, and it wants what it wants. And with it being in the north node being in Aries, maybe it wants independence, maybe it wants a very established sense of self, but the problem is that it's not getting full. It's just eating and eating, and then it's just going right back out. And so the north node can be something that some people see it as something to strive towards, but it's really something that is never going to be satisfying. It's never going to be enough. And that's where we kind of have to find that happy medium of feeding it so that it's satiated and that it's not hungry anymore. It's not starving for it, but at the same time, it's not overindulging in it either. So yeah, think about the things that, the ways that relax you without overcomplicating it, without overindulging or, going beyond your means or going beyond what is feasible for you at the moment. And that's why I would suggest spending the new moon in Cancer. So that is July 5th, Friday, and now we are on to July 6th, Saturday. And on Saturday, we're going to have the moon in Cancer. It's going to be trine Saturn, and then this is a pretty busy day for the moon. It enters Leo that night, but before it enters Leo, it's going to make a trine to Saturn in Pisces. It's going to make a trine to Neptune. It's going to make a sextile to Mars and Uranus, Mars in Taurus, and Uranus in Taurus. The moon's, it's hinting a few things. It's going to conjunct Venus on its way out of Cancer as well. So the moon is going to be very busy in Cancer on Saturday. It feels like it's just going up and like finishing and just wrapping up a lot of things before it enters Leo. And so the notes that I wrote is that any projects this week that you couldn't finish or, just couldn't get to, this is a good day to make progress for them this Saturday. And tension builds, then relief follows. And so if you're feeling some kind of tension, it's not something to worry about or be too concerned about. It's just something to know that there's relief once you get past that tension. And that's Saturday. Take the time to wrap up what you didn't have time to wrap up earlier in the week. On Sunday, the moon is still going to be in Leo. It's going to make a trine to the North Node in Aries. And so any tension from Friday that is not resolved yet, I think will kind of be resolved by Sunday. I don't think it's going to be like a long-term issue. And it's a really good time to reflect. It's the question I wrote down is, what did you learn about yourself this weekend? And so on Sunday, kind of after you've been through the craziness of Friday and the craziness of Saturday, I want you to just take a moment and think about, what needs are being met, what needs are not being met, and just what did you learn about yourself in general. You can kind of take that any direction. I left it open-ended on purpose because I think open-ended questions like that can lead to better answers. And so that concludes our weekly forecast for the first week of July. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you think, how you relate, how it resonates, and I'll see you next week to go over the second week. And don't forget, stay safe. And you can always find more info on my website, rateoflightastrology.com. I'll make sure the link is in the description. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you next time. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to test this and see if the volume is changing at all between when I have this over here and when I have it over here, because I don't want to cover up the mic. It's not the mic. I'm not sure where it is. Anyways. And so